This is a song we wanted to do during this quarantine time to remind all of ourselves that that we have whatever it takes to make it. We can adapt. It's been inside of you all along. Inside my head there lives a dream that I want to see in the sun. Behind my eyes there lives a me that I've been hiding for much too long. 'Cause I've been too afraid to let it show, 'cause I'm scared of the judgment that may follow. Always putting off my living for tomorrow. It's time to step out on faith. I gotta show my face. It's been elusive for so long, but freedom is mine today. I gotta step out on faith. Time to show my face. Procrastination had me down, but look what I have found. I found strength, courage, and wisdom. And it's been inside of me all along. Strength, courage, and wisdom inside of me. It's my jam. Behind my pride there lives a me that knows humility. Inside my voice there is soul, and in my soul there is a voice. But I've been too afraid to make a choice, 'cause I'm scared of the things that I might be missing. Running too fast to stop to listen. Time to step out on faith. I gotta show my face. It's been elusive for so long, but freedom is mine today. Step out on faith. It's time to show my face. Procrastination had me down, but look what I have found. I found strength, courage, and wisdom. And it's been inside of me all along. Strength, courage, and wisdom inside of me. Oh, I close my eyes and I think of all the things that I want to see. 'Cause I know now that I've opened up my heart, I know that anything I want can be. Oh, so let it be. So let it be. So let it be. So let it be. Yeah. It's been inside of me all along. Strength, courage, and wisdom. It's been inside of me, yeah, all along, all along, yeah. It's been inside of me all along, yeah. Strength, courage, and wisdom inside of me. This is for my single brother struggling. This is for my young brother hustling. This is for my sons and my daughters, brothers and my sisters, brothers and my fathers. Though some days may catch you crying, we just gotta keep on trying. This is a song for you.
Yeah. That set the mood just nice.
Right? Yes, ma'am. Let me see. Do I have the sound still going? Hang on. Stop screen. Is she gone? She's gone. All right. Hello, Baddies.
Hey, everybody. How are you doing? So good to see everybody. And like I always say, it is Friday's Eve. It's Thursday. We have almost made it to the end of the week. How are you doing, Jasmine?
I'm doing okay. Our lippies are like they're not really similar. Like mine is really red. They look orange together, so we're like twinsies.
Right. Didn't even plan it. Not at all. I was like, let me pop on a lip, try to doll myself up a little bit.
Yes. So for those of you who are new here, we are For the Rest of Us. My name is Jasmine, and Marissa is my work wife. Say hey, Marissa.
Hey, girl, hey.
We were both diagnosed pretty young, and I think I hear an echo. So let me...
While Jasmine's figuring out the echo, I was diagnosed at the age of 35, so about 5 years ago, with stage 2 breast cancer, ER positive. I had a lumpectomy and I did the whole gamut, radiation, chemo, everything. And then Jasmine was diagnosed at the age of 26. Am I right? Diagnosed at the age of 26. Jasmine, her breast cancer was misdiagnosed a couple of times, and then she was finally diagnosed, and she did radiation. As Jasmine said, both of us decided to start For the Rest of Us as a means and a way for women of color to share their stories and connect with each other. And it has grown into this bigger platform, and we are so happy to have you here with us tonight.
Yes, and I am, let's see.
I don't hear the echo anymore, so I think you're good.
But I can't really hear you.
Oh.
Oh, fun. Okay, well, you know what? I might have to fly.
Just a little technical difficulties. But
so I can't hear you, so hang on.
Okay. Well, while Jasmine's doing that, our topic for today is going to be faith, resiliency, and finding out what your life after being diagnosed with a life-threatening disease like breast cancer, what that is like. And we have a couple of young women who are going to come on and talk about that. And then we also have one of our Baddie ambassadors' mom, Monisha's mom, who will be joining us as well to talk about the faith side of all of this.
So I don't hear the echo right now, so maybe it's gone.
Gone.
Okay. So we are women of faith, and I think that will probably show more as we go on over time. We are tried to be in a very inclusive community, so where we're not putting down or shunning any religions, but for Marissa and I, we do share the same faith. So Marissa, for you, do you feel like your faith was one of the things that helped you get through your experience?
I definitely do. I know I come from a praying family, and so everybody definitely covered myself in their prayers as I was going through my diagnosis. But just for myself personally, just relying on my faith to get it through. I'm sure we're going to talk about it a little bit later. But of course, as soon as I was diagnosed, I asked myself, why? Like, why me? Why am I going through this? And I don't think you actually get a chance to know what that is until you go through the process and maybe search for those answers yourself. And maybe you won't ever find out what the answer is.
Exactly.
Okay, I don't think you necessarily have to have an answer for why you're going through whatever your trials and tribulations that you're going through at that point in time. But my faith definitely helped push me through and get to where I'm at right now, for sure.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I've always say, like, I'm covered by my prayers. And if it ain't my prayers, my mother's prayers. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
So we are going to go ahead and bring on our first guest of the evening. She is a fellow young advocate for living beyond breast cancer. Her name is Nadiyah Brown. Nadiyah Brown is a 34-year-old single mom of two. She was diagnosed with a rare form of breast cancer called inflammatory. She has been an advocate for women surviving breast cancer for about 3 years now. While she has done most of her advocacy through Living Beyond Breast Cancer, she is currently advocating on behalf of Susan G. Komen. She enjoys watching TV, connecting with new survivors and thrivers, learning new things, and crafting. Her faith in God has kept her grounded. Let's welcome Nadiyah to the screen. Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, girl, hey, how are you? Thank you for having me. I'm doing well.
So Nadiyah or Nadiyah?
It's Nadiyah.
Nadiyah. Okay. So Marissa, you want to go ahead and introduce our next guest?
Yes. So our next guest is ShantaQuilette. I'm sorry. ShantaQuilette Carter. When a person discovers their purpose and true meaning in life, particularly one that entails dealing directly with people and imparting positive change, they become an unstoppable force that is continually motivated by others. ShantaQuilette is one person whose multifacetedness only serves to further distinguish her as a highly accomplished, energetic, and ambitious individual that she is. With her heart set on seeing women thrive through all stages of their lives by helping them break any and all self-limiting beliefs, as well as defying the odds stacked against them, she endeavors to help them begin their transformational journeys through a holistic approach. Passion and innovation are what drives ShantaQuilette towards finding creative solutions to prevailing issues affecting women, thus accounting for the various businesses and organizations she has founded to propagate her mission, including Girl Be Natural, Style Follows Her, and the Pink Peppermint Project, among many others. As she keeps her eye on the goal, which is to facilitate a community of empowered women living to their fullest potentials in all aspects of their lives, she continually uses her voice to advocate for women in healthcare, raise awareness on health threats such as cancer, and to celebrate women and their fight. So please welcome ShantaQuilette Carter to the screen.
Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, girl, hey.
I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I apologize.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
How are you?
You only get one error, so I'll let you try again next time.
ShantaQuilette had like a really dope, intense bio, and I had to trim it down a little bit. I'm sorry, girl.
Look, I didn't even know what you guys were going with. So I have so many of them. So I was like, I don't know what they're going to use. And then when I heard you introducing this gorgeous lady next to me, I was like, oh, did I give them a bio?
Yes, you did. Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you. Our final guest is Minister Sylvia Morrison, who is the mother of one of our Baddies ambassadors. Sylvia is a 2-time breast cancer survivor and minister who accredits her faith in God, an example set by her mother for bringing her through. During her diagnosis, she literally stood on the word of God in hopes that she can inspire and encourage others to do the same. She has always had a passion for helping. I'm sorry, guys, my phone is like zooming really weird. She has always had a passion for helping others. She co-authored a book entitled Self-Exam with her daughter. In the book, the ladies not only share their breast cancer stories, but their faith through a series of devotions. She loves reading, writing, and traveling. Let's welcome Minister Morrison to the screen. Hello.
Hi. It's good to see you again.
You too.
So happy to have you here this evening.
Yes.
It's going to be a great discussion.
Yes, tonight's going to be awesome. And so I think everyone here is a woman of faith. Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
When we asked this question, we got some comments, and I mean, it was interesting in the responses. You know, there were some people that grew closer to God. There were some people that did not. And I think having all women of faith here is great. If you want to come backstage with us, let us know and share your opinion, or make sure that you chat in the chat box. We want to make sure that we are inclusive of all narratives here. So, yeah, I will start with you first. How would you describe your faith life before and after your diagnosis?
before my diagnosis, I did have some faith life. I wasn't as prominent in it and always praying and going to church. But after my diagnosis, really started during my diagnosis because I had that rare breast cancer, so it wasn't looking good for me. Medically, they didn't think that I would survive this long, and so prayer and God, just the word. I had people praying over me. All of those things really kept me through. And now, I am working more on ministering and doing more in the Word of God, just to let people know how the Word has come in.
Yes, that is beautiful. So, Minister Morrison, how about you? What was your faith life before and after? Were you a minister when you were diagnosed?
No, I was not. And with me, before, I always was one to say, you have to walk by faith. I always knew that. But after my diagnosis, I learned what it meant to walk in faith. Because I think a lot of people always say you just got to have faith. And that's easy for me to tell someone else. But when those storms come in your own life, that's when you have to learn that faith is an action. And so you have to learn to walk in faith. So that I transitioned from saying, by faith to in faith.
And you know what's interesting is I think God is one of those things you have to experience for yourself. Right. You know, I talked about that recently on my podcast. Sometimes that we inherit faith from our families or from our parents, but until you really experience God, it's going to be really difficult to know him. And I definitely had a chance to experience him after I was diagnosed in a new way. ShantaQuilette, you are not a breast cancer survivor, but you have become quite a lot in your life. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've always had faith. When I was 23, I was a victim of a violent crime. I was stabbed over 18 times. And then leading into the next 10 years, 15 years of my life, I ended up becoming a heart attack thriver and a stroke thriver. And so prior to that, my faith was, pretty strong. But I think after the stroke, I kind of was in limbo, and it definitely pulled me up by the lapels. But this time I had to clearly sit down and truly listen to what God wanted me to do. And like you said, you have to experience it yourself. But it is tough at times. So God has forever been good. But I have had my faith tested several times. But I am here to say, just like they said, hey, toward Jeremiah 29:11, he knows your plans. And so everything that goes on in my life, I know it's for a purpose. And God has the best for me. He knows what's best for me.
So with that in mind, two things I want to build off on. One is, did anybody feel angry with God after their diagnosis? And the second one, my mama is not doing it again. No. Oh my God. One, did anyone feel angry with God? And two, sometimes everything that happens for a purpose is really hard to explain when you take a big loss. I know, especially for those of us that are in the breast cancer community, one of the things I say is that if you remain engaged, you're almost constantly in grief. You're almost always losing a friend. And so I want to know how you ladies feel about that, and how you're able to still stand in faith despite the adversity. So the first question, did anybody feel angry with God after they were diagnosed?
I don't think I wasn't angry with God per se. I was just angry in general. So I don't know if I would just say I was just angry just at him, but definitely just like I was saying before, always asking why. Why is this happening to me? Why was I chosen to go on to this journey? When there's not to say I want to put it on somebody else, but there's so many others, why is it me? So I don't know if I was necessarily angry at him, maybe questioning some of the things that I went through up until this point, but not necessarily angry.
Yeah, I wasn't angry either. I was more concerned, and really trying to hone in on what was happening and why it was happening, and trying to understand it, so I could really move forward in my purpose, because I know, everything God does is for a reason. And so before, I used to always credit the enemy for everything. And then I knew that the enemy can't do anything without God's permission.
That's
So
right.
then I had to say, okay, why is this happening? God, what do you want me to see? What do you want me to understand? And that was my walk, is truly understanding my path and my purpose on earth. Going through so much adversity, I was just like, God, I thought I finally made it. Like, what's up? What you? I can't. You need to talk to me. Like, I need to. We need to really talk. And then, once I was able to hone in on that, like I said, it pulls you up by the lapels, and you truly sit back and listen to Him. A lot of times we try to. I always say, I have this good old saying, is that God is writing, and I'm steadily trying to snatch the pen out of His hand while He's writing. And so I just had to step back and say, God, here, you can have my pen, my marker, my crayon, everything you need. I'm done, and I totally just release myself to Him.
Mm.
I think I would say the same. I never felt angry. I experienced so many setbacks though. So it seemed like after my bilateral mastectomy, which was a really tough recovery, go through radiation, and then I thought that it was done. I thought it was over. And then I was hospitalized for 2 weeks. And then a couple months later, I was hospitalized for another week. And then a couple months later, and then just got to the point that I was just like, geez,
like, what is really going on?
I'm tired. I remember one day, it was like the smallest thing. I was on tamoxifen for a while, and for whatever reason, every time I go in to get an IV line, I would get a blood clot. And it took a while for us to put the two together. But so I am 26 years old. My arm is swollen, so I can't feed myself because I have lymphedema in the other arm. And I remember a girl that was 23 had to come in and feed me. And how humbling of an experience that was. And then to get home and not be able to open things for myself or bathe all of those things. It was a very humbling experience. So it's one of those things where I say that, to me, I wouldn't wish cancer on anyone, but it definitely made me a better woman in so many different arenas of my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For me,
And
I was more like,
sorry.
Go
ahead.
I'm sorry. I was more like Marissa. I was not angry at God, but I was just angry, why me? Because I consider myself a good person. I'm there's so many other people that this can happen. But then it shifted to more, so why not me? And I was letting me know that I was strong, and God doesn't give us any more than we can't handle. And so I was up for the fight.
But then, so how do you answer? And maybe Mr. Morrison, you can help answer this. So when you get the people who ask, when they're just like, well, yes, why me? Why am I being chosen for this? Why is my journey? Why couldn't it be anybody else? How do you flip that mindset? Because we do have, quite a few baddies, like Jasmine was saying, who I don't necessarily say they don't believe in God, but they're just spiritual in some other type of way.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of, some of them aren't necessarily faith-based, or they don't necessarily believe in faith. And so how, not necessarily do you persuade them, but just get them to realize from your perspective as well.
Mm-hmm. And even with me, when I was diagnosed the second time, and I think we always hear that you're not supposed to question God, you're not supposed to, but it's okay. Because with the second diagnosis, I was like, wait a minute. I thought this was done. I thought, I wouldn't have to go down this road again. So it's really hard to it was not easy for me, even as a minister, to have to endure this a second time. But then you have to remember that God created us. And so he saw our lives from the ending to the beginning. So he's already looked into our future. And if the word of God said he's working things out for our good, I know it's hard for us to wrap our mind around how in the world is a cancer diagnosis working for my good. But he's making us a testimony. And so with me going through that a second time, I had to shift my thinking and say, okay, God, I believe your word. I believe what your word said, and I am your child. So I know I'm going to get through this, and this is going to be for me to help someone else. So I had to really take the focus off of me and focus more on, okay, what can I do to encourage somebody else? And that helped me to kind of flip. So if someone comes to me, and a lot of times, people who don't believe, it's hard to explain to them when they say, if your God is so good, why are you going through cancer? Why do you have to get both your breasts removed if the God you serve is so good? That don't seem like a good God to me. And so when people come at you like that and they don't believe, you just have to assure them. You got to go back to that faith piece of it and go back to the word, because the word doesn't need the word is the word. That's how I look at it, and that's where I go to. I don't have to try to go overboard explaining, because when you don't, from someone on the outside looking in, it's really hard for someone to wrap their mind around what the God you serve allowed you to do. No, he didn't allow me. It's just that this is the path that I'm taking to get me to my purpose.
That's it. And one thing to say is that extraordinary people don't live ordinary lives.
Amen.
Yeah.
I know T.D. Jakes talks about how if God would have given us a preview of what it would take for us to become the person that he wants us to become, most of us would be like, no, that's okay. And I definitely feel that way for me. You couldn't have told me I'd be diagnosed at 26. The odds were not in my favor by any circumstance. It was an extraordinary circumstance, but so much good has come from that experience. So for me, looking at like the journals that I was writing in that very beginning, it was just like, I was telling someone it was like Bart Simpson, where he was just writing on the chalkboard. It was just pages and pages of me saying, like, God just wanted to have purpose. And he has fulfilled that promise like a million times over. Just me getting to the point to where I talk about God more comfortably and more openly because I experienced him differently. That's like giving purpose by itself. And regardless to for the breast or other advocacy work I do. You know what I mean?
And I also think, I know she said earlier, that they say that God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And I absolutely don't believe that's true, because I believe that if God didn't give you more than you could handle, you wouldn't need to call on him.
That's it.
You wouldn't need to rely on him. His word would be in vain. So I think you actually go through those things so you can get closer to God. And there is no testimony without a test. And so everything that you go to is to bring you closer to God. So you indeed are not prepared to handle it. But once you call on God and he intervenes and he interjects himself into that, then that's how you get through it.
That's it. Absolutely. So ladies, what was your most memorable mountain that was moved on your healing journey?
You said the memorable mountain that wasn't moved?
That was moved. The most memorable mountain that faith moved on your journey.
With me, when I had my second diagnosis, and I never experienced God in this way. When I was in the OR, and it's literally like I was underwater. I had an experience with God. It was literally like I was underwater and his hand was holding me. And it's hard to explain how I felt, but it was such peace. And when I came out of the OR, and I start coming to, and the medicine started wearing off, and my husband was standing there. When I woke up, I was praising God.
Mm.
And so my husband said to me, he said, you need to calm down. You're getting too worked up. And I remember just crying and telling him, I said, well, you praise him for me because I won't let a rock cry out for me.
Mm.
During that time, I was able to minister to one of my doctors. I barely remember it, but after the fact, he let me know I told him something in his childhood that there was no way I could have known unless the Holy Spirit revealed it to me. So several people would come in my room and they was like, Miss Morrison, you have really been an inspiration. We're supposed to be taking care of you, but you have encouraged us so much. You have just, and that to me was just phenomenal. It was, no, I didn't want to go through what I went through, but it was so worth it knowing that the God in me touched someone else. It changed someone else. And they was able to see the goodness of God through me. I was lended as a vessel, and it had nothing to do with me. It was just that and then because I was willing, I had no pain. After going through all, they kept asking me, do you need pain medicine? I said, no, I didn't need any pain. I wasn't hurting. But I was watching the people that come in the room and they was looking at me in awe because some of the stuff I couldn't even remember, but I guess things that I had said to them had really touched their heart. And that's something that I would not trade for anything in the world, because when you encounter God, it's like a refreshing.
Mm.
So that was my moment that I will just, it changed me.
Yes. What about you,
My
Ray?
oh,
Go
oh,
ahead.
my moment was when I was just healed. He came and told me that I would be healed and cancer free, and when my doctor just came and said that to me because I was diagnosed when I was 29. Again, like I said, didn't think that I would even make it. They didn't even have prognosis for me or anything, and so when I saw and the doctor came in, when I saw that the Lord saw that I was healed, and then the doctor reiterated that for me, that was when I knew that the Lord was there with me. And even just every day, as I'm still here, He's still proving to me that I am healed. I even had a little scare a couple of months ago, and I thought my cancer came back. My oncologist thought that my cancer had returned, and it hadn't. And I'm still healed. And so that was a moment for me.
And for me, it is actually surviving and being
Mm.
here today. But it was more of an aha moment for me, that are intertwined with that question. I was sitting at my computer one day, my work computer, and I had really got some really great news on the other end on my entrepreneurial side. And so I looked at my computer one day at work and I saw, during COVID, they were giving this big COVID bonus to all the employees. And I wasn't getting one of those bonuses because, of course, I've been out because of my stroke. I hadn't been working, so there wasn't really anything to evaluate me on. And so my husband he came in the room and he was like, why are you looking like that? And I said, because everybody got a bonus, and this year because of COVID it was double. And my husband looked at me and he was like, really? And I was like, yes. And he was like, well, if you were to get that bonus, or if you have been eligible for that bonus, then everything that you've gone through would have never happened and you wouldn't be the person you are today. So that girl be natural, you wouldn't have that. Those advocacy calls that you're having to help other women, you wouldn't have that. So with you thinking that, then you basically going back and regretting everything that happened to you. And that's not the whole purpose of that. So that was my memorable moment to say, God, you have been providing. I don't need that bonus. You have provided for every day, that every hour that I have been off that job. And I'm thankful. So that was my moment.
What about you, Martha? Did you have a moment?
I mean, I guess more so of the moment of just being more vulnerable and open with like what I was going through, so then other people can not necessarily learn from that, but just know that it's okay for them to share their stories or be open with what they're going through, especially because as a community, especially as Black women, we just don't share those type of things, especially when we're sick. We keep that to ourselves, even when it comes to our kids and our family. So just being able to tear down that wall or that mountain. And so then that way other women can feel that they can do the same thing as well.
Well, for me, I would say there were a couple of moments. I think the one where I realized that my relationship with God was really getting ready to be something different. Like when Morrison said, I was misdiagnosed initially, and I was kind of wrote off for a few months. It took me about 6 months before I got to a doctor that was willing to like do the test. We could figure out what was going on, and we were doing more and more tests, and my mom started coming to the appointments with me because it was like they're looking for something now. Like it's not letting up. And the week that I was getting ready to find out my results, I woke up and I just started singing "It Is Well" by Bethel Music. And when I started singing that in my spirit, I knew that I had cancer. But I felt like if God was telling me it is well, then that means like no matter what happens, no matter how bad it is, like everything's going to be okay. And having to get comfortable with okay, meaning that what if you die? Or what if this is painful? Or what if it's like you have to, if God is saying that it is well, then it is well. And I remember having that conversation with my mom, and I didn't really tell her all that. I was like, no, I think we should just prepare. And she was like, you're just being negative. So we came back, but it was cancer. I had basically talked myself out of all the peace that God had given me. I was like, it's not cancer. No, it was. And I think that became like the cue for me for that first year. There would be days I'd wake up and that song "It Is Well" would be in my spirit, and maybe I end up in the hospital. So when that first time I was hospitalized, I had an infection around one of my breast expanders because I did reconstruction. And what began as trying to get an infection under control turned into kidney failure because I was allergic to the antibiotics. So instead of a few days in the hospital, I had going on 2 weeks in the hospital, not being able to eat, losing lots of weight. And the people would come in, like I remember the nighttime nurse came in and she would touch my feet and she would pray for me. And she said, do you want to get out of here? That you can get out of here. And I walked out of this experience, that 2 weeks, not being able to eat, going into kidney failure. Doctor comes in at 1 o'clock in the morning and says, you're going to need dialysis, and leave the room. And I walked out of that experience and they're going, I've never seen anybody feel like this. I've never had to do a day of dialysis. My body bounced back, something that they've never seen. Even with the expander, my doctor was saying, like, I've never seen someone go through all of this and not have to lose their expander. Like the other people, like you said, Ms. Morrison, other people were watching this experience going, that's not normal. And so for me, I feel like, especially when it comes to science and faith, I've seen God defy science multiple times.
Absolutely.
And I think that for me has been one of the things that keeps me moving in possibility instead of probability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. I think one of the topics that we're discussing tonight is life after cancer, and the phrase life after cancer is used a lot within our community for sure. So how would you finish the statement, life after cancer is?
I would say life after cancer. When people ask stuff, I would just say, look at me. Look at me. You can't look at me and tell I've been through what I've been through twice. So a lot of times when you hear the word cancer, and I remember when my mom got diagnosed with cancer, and when I heard cancer, I fell apart because all I knew about cancer is people die. Mm-hmm. And so that was in my mind. That's the picture I saw, me losing my mom. And I watched her not even, flinch. she was just so adamant, I'm gonna be fine. Whatever they got to do, they can do it, because God's not gonna take me out of here until He's ready, and I'm okay. And so I watched her go through that. So life after cancer is great. You know, I feel like I'm living my best life,
Mm-hmm.
because now I really have had encounters with God that I probably would not have had
That's
if
it.
I had not gone through this test. And I remember when I got diagnosed the first time, went to church on that Sunday. That Monday, I was going to the doctor to get the results of my biopsy. That Sunday morning, my pastor preached a message, and his topic was truth versus facts. And when he said the topic, it was like something hit me, grabbed me in my belly. So after church, I went in his office and I told him, I said, you know what? I said, tomorrow when I go to the doctor to get my results, I said, they're going to give me the facts,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that may be. I said, but I will stand on the truth. And that means by his stripes, I'm already healed. So when I went to the doctor, he gave me, this is what you have. You've been diagnosed with cancer, blah, blah. I said, okay, where do we go from here? It didn't throw me in a tizzy, because I I knew God had already forewarned me. I already felt in my spirit it's going to be a positive diagnosis, but you're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone looking, life after cancer, look at me. This is it. This is it.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
love
I would definitely say beautiful, and I agree, Miss Morrison. And I want to be clear. I don't think anyone on here is trying to do like toxic positivity, or like just think where I don't. No one is on here. I think faith can give you a different kind of glow, a different kind of outlook on life, though. And for me, like life after cancer has not been easy by any means, but it's been beautiful. I have grown more than I could ever imagine. And like you said, definitely feel like I'm living my best life. Even in adversity, I still feel like God is good all the time.
That's right.
it. Mm-hmm.
For me, I would say it's the new normal because I agree with you. It's difficult. I go through a lot of things, but I am definitely better. I have a better outlook. I was smoking cigarettes before. I'm not smoking cigarettes. The Lord has been removing just a lot of things from me. I'm not as negative as I used to be about things, and I see things a lot differently. So it's a new normal for me. Not a bad new normal. It's a good new normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say even just for me, I always say that like I'm living my best life, whatever that may be, whatever that looks like. And recently I was talking to somebody about my friend Christina, and I think that's one of the things that she taught me. It's just like living your best life no matter what the circumstance is. One of the things that she did, her last year of her life is like she took all kinds of pictures all the time, and nobody around could like understand why she was just taking all of these pictures. And now looking back, you realize why. So that's one of the things, like when I'm around people, I just like to take pictures because I'm like, those are memories and moments that you have. And life is so fleeting, you just never know. But to be able to look back on those pictures that you have, which always equate to like memories and moments, it'll take you back to that time. And it's just a beautiful thing to have. So just continuing to live my best life, whatever that looks like, and regardless of the circumstance, because we do have women in our community who are still living with cancer. And so for them to be able to say, like, I'm living my life how I want to, and whatever that looks like, it's just an amazing thought process to have.
And what about you, ShantaQuilette? How would you finish the sentence? Life after cancer is.
Well, for one, I've never had cancer, so it's not something that I can truly resonate with on that end. But for anyone, I lost 3 friends to breast cancer and an aunt. And one thing I would tell Shamika is each day that she woke up, she was winning. And despite everything she was going through, I'm like, there's somebody who didn't wake up this morning. There's somebody who is crying, hurting, in pain. And me and you having this conversation is a blessing. So if anything, you are still here. That's one step closer to getting better, getting well, being greater. And that's how I encouraged her until she had her, till she took her last breath.
So then I think the other side of this, the obvious side of this for our metastatic sisters is that there are some women that will not be healed. There are some women that will die because of cancer. For me, I think losing a friend very recently, it's been very hard, and it's been very hard to be like to. The last thing I want to hear, last thing I want somebody to say is like, well, there's a reason and there's a purpose. But I also think that in seeking purpose, sometimes it allows us to not go through bad experiences in vain. So I know that because she lived and because I know her, there are so many ideas and ways that I'll be able to help people because of just knowing her and just because of her life. Even though her race wasn't as long as what everyone else's race might be, her race was very impactful in that moment. So for you guys, when we do lose sisters to metastatic breast cancer, when someone is living with metastatic breast cancer, what kind of faith or what kind of comfort do you think faith can provide in that setting?
Well, with me, I watched my mom, I watched her and it was hard because it was my mom. But when you're around someone like that, you have to remember that you can't go with the pity or feeling sorry. It was always, upbeat, what you're doing today. If I cried, which I did, it was not in front of her, it was in private. um, you have to understand your life is not over until you take that last breath. So you have to encourage someone that's going through that to do the things they want to do. Don't just feel like, well, I have this thing, so now I can't do this. No, what is it that you want to do? And if it's not a physical restraint keeping you from doing it, why not do it? Why not do it? It's not, don't live like you've already taken that last breath, like you're just sitting, waiting to die. While you're in the waiting room, you have to continue to live
Right.
because life is not over until you take that last breath. So I would just, be positive. Sometimes I think we think we're doing the right thing when we go around somebody that we know is in that situation, that we have to walk on eggshells. Well, if we laughed and we had fun and this is our thing, we're going to keep doing that until you physically cannot do that. I'm going to keep pushing you. I'm not going to let you just stop living and you're still breathing. We're not going to do that. So,
And you know what? One of the things that we always tell our baddies is you feel how you feel. Someone said
yeah,
earlier about how do you grow in your faith if you don't question God? And I think that is like, that's absolutely the thing. I think all of us at one time or another is like, I need to figure out why this is happening to me. What can I learn from this experience? And so to not be so afraid, to not, like you say, to question God. But I think once you're able to have that communication with God, then you open up the airways. You can understand things a lot clearer. And so, yeah, I was ponder. Yes.
And we should continue to question, because how are you going to continue to learn?
Right.
I was listening to a pastor recently who said that, and he's just like, yes, you should question everything, no matter what it is, because you're going to find your answer at some point in time. And not asking any questions just keeps you stagnant. It's, something that I even tell my son. I'm like, ask a question, just ask it, because, what's the worst thing that somebody can say is no when you're asking a question.
Even Jesus asked God, "Why have you forsaken me?"
mm-hmm.
So it
That's
is okay.
right.
It is okay to ask questions. There's several examples in the Bible where questions were asked.
Right.
So it is okay, because that's where understanding comes in.
That's
So
it.
I think it's really important. And like you said, Jasmine, it's okay to be in tune with your feelings. And so with my friends, if they were having a bad day, there were some days that we would just pick up the phone and we wouldn't say anything. I would just be listening and she would be crying. And I respected that. And I allowed her to do that. And sometimes she would say, I don't want to hear about that today. And I'd be like, okay, we won't talk about that. What do you need? And that was the biggest thing I would always say. What do you need from me? How can I help you? Tell me so I can help you. And she would tell me. And sometimes it was to be quiet, and I would do that.
And I think that's as being like a co-survivor, like we say, or a caregiver, that's huge.
Yeah.
Because even my best friend, when I was going through chemo, she would just come over and literally just sit on the couch and not say anything. And that was like the best thing for me. Like her and I talk about it now and we just laugh. And it's just like having somebody there in the presence that isn't asking you any questions, asking you how you're feeling, just there is bigger than anything else.
I think all of you ladies covered everything that I would do as well, and just remind them that God is faithful and it's His will, not ours. And if they're not close to God, encourage them to maybe seek Him some more.
Absolutely. And I think for me, even going through cancer and then going through the divorce, I think cancer kind of primed me because I started to, like you guys say, look for understanding. I started leaning into God more. So by the time the divorce came, I was like, Jesus is my best friend. How do I handle this? Let me go talk to Jesus, figure out how to go. What kind of way to make? Let me go talk to you. And honestly, that like my faith has literally, like you say, like you stand on the word, it has brought me through. And I would not be what they say, like you can't pull something out that you don't have in you. You know what I mean? If you're not like engaging in the word, if you're not putting those good things in your spirit, you can't pull it out when you need it. And I don't think I would be in that place now had I not gone through cancer and learned to cling to Him then.
That's good.
So ladies, we probably have time for one more question. So not every woman goes through this and gets closer to God. Some women, they feel betrayed. There are some women that come in and talked about how they really lost their faith. I think some people may feel punished after going through a cancer diagnosis. So for women of faith that are going through a really tough time, what advice would you give to them that are struggling and they're trying to find their way back?
That's a good question.
That was I've never heard that one.
If they're struggling.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard because I think we all struggle here and there, right? Like you're wondering, like, can I do this? Can I go through this? And I guess just trying to figure out how to get back to that place. I know for me, I always say that I do some of my best thinking in the shower. And I think that that's a lot of times that, you know, I actually do hear God's voice in the shower talking to me. And I guess just getting back to those moments, whatever those moments are, and, you know, figuring out who it is. Because I feel like whether you believe in God or you believe you're spiritual or you believe in whatever you want, whatever you believe in, it comes to you at certain points. And it's just catching those certain points. Sometimes they're real quick, right? They could just be like 2 seconds worth and you got to catch it, or it's just fleeting and it just goes. So being able to find that and then center yourself in that and whatever that may be and move forward.
And I think too, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's you. Go for it.
I think sometimes too, we have to slow down and just find that quiet time and that place of peace. I know something with me with the second time that I was diagnosed, I had so much going on in my head. I was disappointed. I was hurt. I was a little angry and all those things. And I found with me just sitting down, getting quiet and just crying. Just, I don't want anybody to talk to me. I just want this time in my little corner to just get quiet. And I found that place of peace. And when I did that, it was still hard, but I was able to hear God. I was able to at least grab hold to say, okay, it is what it is. And unless God change it, I mean, things went wrong when I had this surgery, when I had my double mastectomy and I had the reconstruction. things went wrong. And I thought I would be okay with it, and I didn't want any more surgery. But then when I looked at my body and I looked at how it really looked, it was like, huh, I start getting all these feelings again. And sometimes people will, I just want to say this, sometimes people will make you feel like, people of faith will make you feel like because you have moments of breakdown, because you want to cry it out, because you get angry, because you just want to maybe just say how you feel, let it out. Your faith is not strong. You don't have to, that doesn't mean your faith is not strong. That means you're human. And
Absolutely.
it's okay to feel what you feel. So even with me being a minister, I break down sometimes. I look at my body sometimes now because I'm completely flat on the left side. I have reconstruction on the right, but the left, there's nothing there. I got to figure out what I'm going to do to fix it. But it bothers me, and I'm okay with saying it bothers me. I'm not going to sit and try to make somebody think that I'm so strong that it does bother me. That's just it. And so I think if we're just who we are, just take our moment and take that time and not feel guilty about how we feel.
I think for me, it became I think I just started to become very aware. It's one of those things like if you're mad at a guy or your guy and you're listening to Beyonce Lemonade, you know what I mean? It's just like feeding that negativity. And sometimes I think we can get into a place where we're down and we don't realize it, but we start feeding ourselves more negativity. We start feeding ourselves music that doesn't bring us up. We start watching things that doesn't lift us up. And for me, I just had to become very aware. Like I have my Focus on Faith playlist. I know when things aren't right, I gotta worship. If it's Sunday service, then that's what we finna do. We finna do Sunday service for a little while. We finna shift the energy. It's even like going to certain books and making sure that I have things that I can go to and read, or the YouVersion Bible app. You can search just about anything in there and find a Bible study to kind of help shift your energy and help you find perspective. So for me, I think if someone is struggling, you definitely have to take a moment to step back. I always say, like, you have to find the light. You have to find the light. Take a step back, become aware of those different things that you're feeding yourself and surrounding yourself with, and then be intentional about feeding yourself soul food.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, I agree as well. I believe, really finding a place of peace, but also realizing that anger and negativity is not going to change the situation, that it will only make it worse. And so when I was angry, when I was sad, I had to always come out with a solution. What strategy am I going to do to make this better? Because I can't change that I've had a stroke. It's happened. So now I have to build resilience and know that even though I'm not like I used to be, I'm going to be much better than I was before. And so in a whole different way, and just being able to adapt and take on these new challenges, these new disruptions. And like I said, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be sad, but we have to have a solution. You can't sit and feel sorry for yourself, because negativity, bad energy, it only hinders the process. It hinders the healing process.
Absolutely.
And so I know that's why I have been, so upbeat. And people always ask me, well, how why are you so? I'm like, I am winning. I am alive. I'm 6 feet above ground. I could be dead and gone. And so every day God has the audacity to wake me up. I am going to walk fully and step hard and stomp my feet on the ground, hit my 2 feet on the ground, and be like, yes, God, what we doing today?
There you go.
Yes.
Because even as me not having cancer, and I used to tell Shamika this all the time, she'd be like, well, I could die. And I said, Shamika, I could die any day too. There's no day promised to me either. I might go before you. and I don't even have cancer. So we have to really, live in the moment. Like I said, a girl told me yesterday, I said, be blessed. I said, have a blessed day. And she said, well, it's not even, the day is not even over. I said, well, I bless people in the moment.
Yeah.
You could be gone the next second.
Right.
You could be gone the next 5 minutes. You don't know. So we have to just be grateful of every hour, every second that we get, because it's not promised. It's not promised.
So you said that, and it triggered a thought for me. For someone that's struggling, gratitude is a huge way to shift energy, especially if you do, like, there are 30-day gratitude challenges. I was reading a book about gratitude experience, and basically gratitude shifts your energy, and it really opens the door to blessings in your life, being thankful for what you already have or for what you already have. So if you're looking to do like a gratitude experiment, what you have to do is you have to find 3 things to be grateful for 30 days straight, and you can't repeat anything. And I'll tell you, like, you get about halfway through those 30 days and you realize that you have to have something. You are suddenly grateful for the leaves that are beautiful. You're grateful for the person that let you get over in the car lane. Like, and you start to basically, like, create that great energy in your life. And sometimes I think that's all it takes, is being reminded of what we have when we feel like we've lost our pride.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, all of you ladies made good points, especially the gratitude one. But I agree with Minister about the inner peace, because I feel like once you find that peace, you can allow yourself to feed yourself positive things and the soul food that you talked about, Jasmine. So all of those were points, and
Yes. So, ladies, it is the end of our hour. You guys stay on the screen, though, because we have to take our picture before you guys leave. But I am so grateful to have spent this hour with you all and to just be in community with you all. Baddies, I hope you got a little bit of soul food from this hour. And make sure you let us know what kind of other topics you'd like us to hit on this year, because we're very much still listening. And with that being said, we love you all. And
thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, and ladies, for joining us here. We really appreciate you being here and talking with us. And we'll be back next month, same time, same place.
Yes, ladies, stay on screen. Everybody else, good night.
Good night.